Hello, everybody. Good day, greetings, and salutations. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I want to welcome you to another Media Boss Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, what is Media Boss Live? Media Boss Live is a live stream that I do to help educate you as a business owner, hopefully, on business and how to do it with media. That's the thing. We want to show you how to use media, and what we're doing is a series of 5 days of media strategies that you can start right now. You can act on right now. And that's what we want to do. I want to show you some things that you can do. And some of you are already doing some of these things. Some of you may want to enhance it. Some of you may want to change some of the things. Some of you may just want some help or just some advice on it. And some of you may just want to share it with people. And some of you just may want to look at me. I don't know. But anyway, I want to make sure that we can share some of these things with you in media to help you to enhance your game a little bit. So, who am I? I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews of Media Boss Pro. What my firm does is we work with high achieving leaders to help them to drive their competitors crazy by using media to make it so they can be everywhere all at once. So, if you're someone in a high achieving profession, a CEO or an executive, even a former athlete, maybe a former coach in sports, and you're saying, you know what, I have a lot still to give, and I want to share it with the world outside of the team, outside of the company, then come see us at Media Boss Pro. What we'd love to do is turn you into an industry icon. That's right, industry icon. So how do you get in touch with us? You want to go to MediaBossPro.com. How simple is that? www.MediaBossPro.com. Schedule a time. Let's have a chat. Let's see where we can help you, because I would love to make you the go-to person for people to come to when they need information about whatever your expertise is. So that's what we want to do for you from Media Boss Pro. Now, I want you guys to make sure that you are sharing this with people. Make sure you are clicking that little button to share this with all your friends and family. I want you to also make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. Look me up, Barrett Matthews. Look me up on YouTube and go to the YouTube. And when you see the Media Boss Live there, when you see the 5 days of strategies of media strategies, make sure you subscribe. Leave us a comment. Leave us a comment there as well. Watch it, everything. We want you to do all that for all of them. We want to get as much hype behind us as possible. So also do that. Share that with people as well. Let them know that they should subscribe as well to it. And also, I want to make sure that you, in your LinkedIn and your Facebook, leave us comments, leave us questions. We'd love to hear from everyone here, every one of you. And I'd love to be able to, either answer some questions or just appreciate you for appreciating us. So, what are we talking about today? So we've been doing a little bit of podcast stuff this week, and I'm going to stick to it today. We may change it up tomorrow, but I want to stick with the podcasting theme today. And we're going to talk about, because I get this question a lot from people. Should I just do audio or should I do video? Should I do both? What should I do? I don't know if I should do audio or video. I don't know how I feel about doing video. I don't know about it. I don't know enough to this to do audio, whatever, whatever, whatever. So I want to address all of that today. We're going to talk about in your podcasting, and some of you may have not started a podcast yet, but if you're considering it, that question comes up with a lot of people. Should I do audio or should I do video when it comes to podcasting? So let's tackle that right now. And the funny thing about that, when we talk about audio versus video podcasting, is that there's a good contingency out there that says, well, if it's not just audio only, then it's not a podcast, because a lot of people consider podcast only is audio only as podcasting. So that's how some people look at it. I see it differently, but here we go. So we're going to talk about audio first, though, because audio is where podcasting began. I mean, the word pod came from the iPod that Apple used to have, and that's what podcasting, it came from there. You can look it up and Google it, find out the history of it. But so let's talk about audio content only. So that's for people that only really want to focus on their spoken word. And they don't want to have any visual, video components to it. They just want to focus on speaking. and they allow the listeners to use their imagination to visualize the content. Now, you may be thinking, well, that kind of limits them. No, it does not. If you do your content well, you can tell a story and have people put it in their own minds as how they see it. And there's nothing more beautiful than that, than using your own imagination to picture what someone is telling you. Think about it. You do it all the time when you listen to a song. You do it all the time. I remember, when music videos came along, it kind of changed that. It put the thought in your head. But before that, and even after that, because video is not what it used to be, now you have to imagine what that particular situation is like when they're talking about, when they're singing in a song. Well, the same thing applies when you're doing an audio podcast. So it allows the listener to use their imagination and visualize whatever that content is that the speaker is talking about. Another thing about audio content is that it can be taken in while you're doing things. So meaning that you could be driving, you could be working out, you can be working, you can be doing all types of things while you're listening to an audio podcast, as opposed to video where you have to keep your eye on the screen. Otherwise, you're not really watching the video. So the thing about that is that it allows people to do things. A lot of people listen to podcasts on their way to work. As a matter of fact, I was in my car earlier today listening to a podcast. So it's one of those things that you can do while you're doing other things. And it doesn't also, here's the other thing about it being, how do I say, more accessible to people. It doesn't require as much bandwidth when you're talking about the internet as it would with video. You can reach a wide audience, a very wide audience, because everybody may not have access to video at the time when they're doing it, but they definitely have time. I mean, have access to audio a lot of times because we all have those devices we call smartphones, and they can carry that on there as well. So, and it doesn't require, like I said, it doesn't carry as much data as it would for video content as well. So that's another thing about audio podcasts. Now, it's also compatible with a lot of different platforms. Just off the top of my head, you can say, Apple Podcasts, you got Spotify, you have Audible, you have different types of directories out there that can carry your podcast. It can go to so many different people. I think my podcast, Media Boss Podcast, goes on at least 10 different audio platforms. It's easy to distribute, and you can do smaller size files when you're dealing with audio. So that's another thing that audio gives you, in that it can go to a lot of different places, whereas video is kind of limited on that end. Now, production. When you're producing audio, it's a lot simpler, a whole lot simpler than doing video. I have to tell you. It does require to have some audio recording and editing equipment, but it's easier to handle than it would be if you were doing video. It just is. And you may be able to do it yourself. You can hire someone to do it, however you want to do it. But the thing is, it's simpler when you're dealing with audio than it is video. Now, there may be some other bells and whistles you may want to add to it. Like literally, you may want to add some bells and some whistles into your audio, or some music or whatever. You may want to add some sound effects, but which is fine. You can still do that with audio, and it doesn't require a whole lot of work. And one of the last things I want to talk about when it comes to audio before we delve into the video portion, and I'm hoping I'm not going to keep you guys too long today, is the audience. Your audience. Now, your audience, the listeners, they prefer to consume audio content because they're usually people who are on the go. They're usually people who have things to do, but they still want to bring in your content or learn something while they're on the go. For instance, I was doing that this morning. I was just listening to the podcast while I was doing other things, and I was able to take in some of the information while I was doing other things. Now, the other thing about audio content, and this is something that's real interesting, it's an industry type of, I don't know if it's a standard I would call it, but a lot of businesses focus their sponsorship based on audio podcasting. Now, It's kind of interesting, and I'm going to delve into it a little deeper once I go over a video as well. But a lot of the businesses, they want to know how many downloads, how many listens you have on your podcast. And when I say downloads, that deals with audio. How many audio downloads do you have on your podcast? How many people are listening to a good amount of your podcast? Because that to them tells them whether they should be a sponsor for your podcast. Now, in order to start really making some money with it, you have to have a high number of downloads. We're not getting into that right now, but you have to have a pretty high number of downloads to really start making some money with it. And it's really like I said, they don't have to be continual listeners, but how many listeners do you have? How many downloads do you have on your podcast? So that's something you want to show a sponsor if they're looking to be a sponsor for your podcast. So that's audio. So let's talk about video for a second. So, video podcast. Now, when you're dealing with video, video has a different element because it can definitely enhance it, especially when it comes to the storytelling experience. I mean, think about it. When you're looking at someone's facial expressions when they're telling a story, doesn't it invite you in a little bit more? And here's the thing about video podcasts. You can actually frame a video podcast to where you're telling a story and you can add other video to it. So if I'm saying, I was walking along the beach one day, I could actually have a video of someone walking down the beach. It doesn't have to be me. It could be someone walking down the beach. I could do a video podcast where I'm interviewing someone and they could be sitting next to me and we could be at an event. I've done these. We could be at an event doing a podcast and other people see us doing an event and it adds a different element to it. And the guests can feel almost like they're there. So it adds a different element to the podcast that invites people in a different way that audio would. And it can enhance the storytelling. Now, like I said, it takes away a lot of the imagination part from the audience, but it does allow them to feel like, okay, I'm not just guessing, I'm there with you. And that definitely enhances your podcast a lot when people can feel that way, that they're a part of what you're doing. And video allows people to do that. Now, when it comes to engaging with your audience, the video component can definitely increase your engagement. Because like I said, if they feel that they're there and you invite them to comment, oh, they want to comment. They want to feel like they're a part of it. They want to tell other people what they saw. Think about when you've seen a movie or a TV show you like. You tell your friends about it. Well, people may want to tell about your podcast if it's entertaining enough, if it's compelling enough, if you're doing enough to make them want to pay attention to it. And sometimes the entertainment of the video doesn't necessarily have to be, big cars running down the street or anything like that. It could be just you writing on a whiteboard. But the fact that you're giving them something visual to look at, something that feeds into their mind from a visual standpoint, it goes a long way. And some of the nonverbal things that you do, facial expressions, body language, they go a long way when you're dealing with podcasting, especially from that video standpoint. Because what it does is it brings more depth to the communication. It brings more depth when you're actually going in from a standpoint of, I want to use my nonverbal cues. It just makes them. I have a good friend, Linda Clemens. He talks about body language, and your body language it's most of the communication is body language. So if you can do that and get that across to people, it goes a long way with them when you're talking to them. Now, another thing about when you're doing video, a lot of people they have their video podcast on YouTube or Vimeo, and there's some other hosting sites out there. A lot of the Spotify's now are allowing you to do video podcasts as well, and I think that's great because they were known for audio. Now they're bringing in video because video is ruling. Here's something I need to tell you guys. YouTube. You're probably not going to believe this. YouTube is the biggest carrier of podcasts right now. Yeah, the video platform is the biggest carrier of content. They call that a clue, guys. They call that a clue. Now, keep in mind, video podcasting does require more bandwidth, more storage. in order for you to distribute what you have there. So understand that as far it's going to take up more space. Now, when you're talking about producing your podcast with video, it's going to, require you to have someone with some experience in editing. It's because it's a little more complex than just doing an audio podcast. You're going to have the right cameras. You're going to have the right software to edit it. And most importantly, you're going to have the right lighting. And I know you're saying, most importantly, what about my camera? No, most importantly is your lighting. Because if you don't have good lighting, it doesn't matter your camera. I'm telling you, it does not matter if your lighting is bad. So you make sure you have those, and make sure you have good sound. Make sure you can hear as well. A good headset, a good soundboard wouldn't hurt as well. But with video, you want to make sure you have the lighting in place. That's really, really important. So your audience, let's talk about your audience. Well, just like I said with audio, that the audio attracts that audience that's on the go, that wants to be on the go. Well, video, with video, it attracts an audience that prefers visual content. They enjoy watching and seeing you just have discussions, seeing you have interviews with people, seeing you talk to them. They enjoy that. They don't need to be on the go to do it, because they'd rather be in more relaxed, and they may like to take notes while they're watching you. So it's one of those things that it's a different audience, and that's the thing there. So that kind of wraps up what I wanted to say about video. So I want to bring it all home and tie them together, because there are two different audiences. The people who usually listen to audio don't usually watch video. The people that watch video usually don't listen to audio. They're usually two different audiences. So the question I get from people is, but Barrett, okay, so which one should I do, audio or should I do video? And my answer is always yes. It's yes. I think you should do both. Why would you pass up on getting an audience if they're there for you? Oh, but Barrett, I don't feel comfortable doing video. Get over it. I'm telling you, get that audience. Is it about your audience or about your ego? Get out there, because the content is the content, but it needs to go to the people that want to consume it. You need to get it to those people. Your target audience doesn't always like to watch video. Your target audience doesn't always like to listen only. So make sure that you're being able to reach them where they are, not where you are comfortable. Let me say that again. It's not about you being comfortable. It's about meeting your audience where they are. So understand that there are resources out there that can help you with production. I've said this time and time again. I'm going to say it one more time. If you would like help with your production, guess what? My firm, Media Boss Pro, we help you with that. We do production for people in their podcast, audio and video. How about that? So if you would like help with that, reach out to us. Go to MediaBossPro.com, MediaBossPro.com. Reach out to us. Schedule a time to talk to us. And we would love to help you get your content out there by using audio and or video. Now, before we wrap up, I want to make sure I tell you guys to please share this with people. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do that. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And make sure that you are spreading the word about Media Boss Live. We want to make sure that everybody takes part in this. Leave your comments, leave your questions below as well on LinkedIn or Facebook or on YouTube. Leave your comments there as well. I want to thank you guys for joining me one more time. And I'd love to work with some of you. Hopefully we do work with you. I got a surprise coming up soon. We have a master class coming up. I'll be letting the dates go probably before the week is up. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. As I always say, before we end Media Boss Live, Media Boss Live, we're going to leave Media Boss Pro and Media Boss Live together. Before we end Media Boss Live, I want to say to you guys that you are someone special, because you are God's vessel. Everyone, have a great day. I look forward to seeing you next time on Media Boss Live. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.